It didn't last until Ling Ling and Hurricane Howie. You okay over here?
I'm not doing too well, no. Keep going,
Would you
Hurricane
like to
Howie.
take a moment?
No,
dear
don't
God.
take a
Oh,
moment.
dear God.
No,
It's
keep
okay.
going, keep
It's
going.
okay.
No.
No, this is fine.
No, it's important.
Yeah, walk up the set. Here, I'm gonna go and walk up the set. I love you so much. I really do so much.
All right, so,
I do have screen.
Kennedy, where are the questions? You want me to ask you questions? So, Foxy was on Fishbowl. Oh, that's awesome. Drawn Together spinoff? Okay, that's a no to that. Let's see. You need to, I need to know the next question.
I don't think the show really warrants
A spin-off? Now this is reality TV, Matt. You're actually vomiting. Oh, and you have 2 kids. This is so sad.
Gabe here, back again with another episode of Exceptionally Animated. Today, we got some of my good friends. Please welcome the creators of Drawn Together, Dave Jeser and Matt Silverstein. What's up?
Hey, Gabe, great to see you again. How you been, man?
I've been very good. How have you been?
Living the dream. I know that you've been doing a little bit of voiceover at the over at the airport. I heard your voice over the loudspeaker.
Oh yeah, you saw that clip online?
Yes.
Wait, I didn't know this. Wait, tell me about this. I didn't know anything about this voiceover work you're doing, Gabe. You didn't tell me anything.
Okay, so I'll fill you in. So, I am working at the South Bend Airport, and they came up to me and they were like, "You want to do the announcement that loops around about safety and everything, and not leaving your stuff behind and all that." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So they recorded my announcement, and literally 2 months later, it's been, after repeating so long, I'm actually having people come up to me at my job. They're like, "Hey, you're Gabe from the announcements. Can I get a picture?" And it's just insane. People I've never even met come up to me and they're like, can I get a picture with you? And it's like, okay.
I love that. We've never had that. I've never had anybody want to take a picture with me.
That's not. We did a show called DJ and the Fro, and we were in Comic-Con. We didn't think anybody watched it, and then as we were walking down the street, someone heard Matt's voice, and Matt was one of the main characters, either DJ or the Fro. I don't remember it.
I don't remember either.
And they're like, "Oh my God, you're from DJ and the Fro!" And
I still don't believe. I still think somebody told them. Still feels like a setup. Like I don't buy that actually happened.
yeah, I like how you won't even buy that you have one fan.
I've never even heard of DJ and the Fro till years later, but it's basically like Beavis and Butthead, but they react to stupid YouTube videos.
Correct. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'll send you some. I'll send you some videos of that, Gabe. I think you'd like it.
And they had they both worked in a cubicle, and the idea was they looked at each other over the cubicle, so because the cubicle covered their mouths, we would just shoot this or animate this, and then we could recycle and reuse that animation forever and put whatever dumb thing they said, whoever they reacted to the YouTube clip. And they also had dumb tell them about the pilot episode, Matt, which I thought was great.
Oh, the pilot episode was about 2 guys at work who wanted to slack off, and there was a pedophile hitting on them online, trying to seduce them. So they're like, "Oh, why don't we invite the pedophile over to do our work for us?" So they get the pedophiles to come to the office, and all the pedophiles are doing all their filing and computer work.
Yeah, they're threatening to out them to the FBI if they don't copy everything and file everything for them.
And then the pedophiles, unfortunately, what happened was that the pedophiles in the office, they start getting sick. They're not doing well. And then the 2 guys realize that DJ the Fro realized, we can't give these pedophiles what they want, what they need. They're not supposed to be in the office. They're supposed to be at the park hitting on little children. And so they send them back into the wild to be there and fulfill all their pedophile needs. But listen, Gabe, we didn't bring you here today to talk about pedophiles or DJ and the Fro. Let's talk. Let's start over. Let's start with what do you want to talk about?
Okay. Well, I think a good place to start. Well, let's go. Yeah, I'm gonna do the little effect back in time.
Okay.
Ooh. So, you've known Dave practically since childhood. You grew up in here. I gotta do the voice. You grew up in New Jersey.
Very good.
you guys were in the same class, and you want to tell the story about your studio, Double Hymn Studios with the classic bridge?
Sure. Double hem. We both met in physics class in high school, and our teacher's name was Gary Heminger, and we just gave this poor guy such a hard time. And one of his favorite videos was that bridge. What was the name of that bridge, Dave? You remember?
Nakatomi Plaza, I think.
Yeah, I think it was the Nakatomi Plaza Bridge, and it would go around like this, and we all thought that was really funny, and that became our logo. But the way we actually met was I was graduating. Dave still had one more year. He's younger. You could tell by looking at him, so youthful. I was graduating, and I wanted to run for student government president one more time because I lost every other year, and I'm not allowed to run again because I'm graduated. So I needed a proxy. So Dave was this kid in my physics class who never really talked or did much because he was scared of his dad and didn't ever want to get in trouble. So I was like, hey, I want you to run for me. And Dave didn't want to. And then eventually he came into school one day, and I had already put up posters all over the school saying that he's running for president. And I spelled his name wrong. I spelled it with 2 S's. And but then we started writing the posters together. We wrote funny speeches together. And at that point on, we're like, oh, we should develop this into a middling career.
We wrote funny posters that got banned, and we ran a campaign that failed, and we figured we'd take that success and build a career out of it.
And that's but that's how we got started working together creatively.
All right, I love that. So before we get into drawn together, the main show that we're going to talk about. I want to talk about this show because this is kind of the birthplace of Drawn Together, I feel like, in a way, at Comedy Central. And that is, of course, The Man Show. I don't even know why I have this. This is only $2.99 at a local DVD store.
Well, you should enjoy it. It's a great show that's aged really well, and I think you'll love it. You should watch it, Gabe.
So, of course, you had Adam Carolla and Jimmy Kimmel, and this was before Jimmy Kimmel, was super famous with his talk show on ABC.
Right. Yeah, he was still the host of a show called Win Ben Stein's Money, and he was also on K-Rock out in California. So he was doing DJ stuff, and he was the host of this game show. And then I heard that they were looking for writers. I was in New York at the time, and I was working in production at the time, and so I just filled out one of the applications, and I just wrote a whole bunch of weird bits and stuff, and then I got a call from Jimmy Kimmel, who I had no idea who that was really at the time, and he said, "Why don't you come out and I'll give you a week-to-week contract and pay you nothing, and we'll see if you can do this." And I thought for sure I was going to fail, so. I left New York, but I kept my apartment in New York. And then eventually I got out there and I was like, hey, you should. And it was great. It was the best time ever. And then I was like, hey, you should hire my friend Dave. And then Jimmy said no.
I think that's fair. Yeah, he was not looking for my style of writing. But I was like producing at the time for this small New York company doing like stand-up specials for Comedy Central. And because I had produced, my producer that I worked for called Daniel Kelson, who was Jimmy's partner, and said, hey, he kind of knows what he's doing. He's good at numbers. I don't think he's funny either, so I wouldn't hire him as a writer. But if you're looking for a producer, he's on top of it. He's smart. He can do numbers and math quickly in his head. And so I got hired as a producer. And yes, that started both of us, our careers in Hollywood.
But it was literally the most fun show ever to work on. It was just a blast. I mean, the stuff we got away with was remarkable, and it definitely did. That's where we met Adam Carolla, and got him involved in the Drawn Together to be Spanky.
My favorite episode. I haven't seen much of the Man Show, but one episode I do want to highlight that's really funny is the one where they're doing the parody of all of the smear campaigns and.
Yes. Yeah. Jimmy and Adam pretended to be 2 candidates running for state controller or whatever, and they would go to people's lawns and they'd show up to campaign, and then they'd get into a fight on the people's lawns. It was really good. There was a lot of really funny stuff on that show. It was I loved it. It was the best.
So then, I guess you could say after the Man Show ended, when it went downhill, when they replaced Jimmy and Adam with Joe Rogan and what was the name of the other guy who came in afterwards?
Doug Stanhope.
Okay, so after the show went downhill, after they came in, that's around the time you started doing Drawn Together. So you made the pitch pilot, and recently you finally found the pitch pilot. It was animated in Flash. The animation was a little rough. All of the voice cast was the same, except for, I think, Nat Faxon was Xander.
Yes.
Yeah. And I don't think we had James Arnold Taylor yet. I think Jess Harnell did Captain Hero. The same guy who did Captain Hero did Woldor.
Yeah, I don't. You know what? I think the version I have, it's almost like it was redone, because I think actually now in the new version, in the version that we uploaded on YouTube, I think it does have James Arnold Taylor doing Woldor. But originally it was Jess, and I think Tara also was Foxy Love originally.
Wow.
Right? Because she sort of did sort of a Puerto Rican accent.
Yeah, or maybe that was in our first dialogue
radio play or something. Yeah, and then we finally got Cree. And Cree was great. I remember the first time we auditioned Cree a couple of times, and honestly, we didn't love it. We thought this wasn't right. And what we found out is in all of her auditions, she was given strange direction to play it like sort of subtle or strange, and it just wasn't working. But when she said her name, she's like, "Hi, this is Cree Summer. I'm reading for Foxy Love." When she said that, we're like, that's Foxy. When she's doing her normal voice, that's great. That's what we want. And then we brought her back.
We cut that part out. It just said it's a Comedy Central. It said, "Hey, this is who we want." And all it said was like, "This is Cree Summer, the voice of Foxy Love." And that was it. That was it.
And then we were like, she's like, "All right, they let us hire her." And then she just went wild. Then once she got behind the mic, she just did her own thing, and it was magic. She's brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah, Drawn Together is such an amazing show, in my opinion. It was never afraid to push the boundaries of what was allowed on television at the time. At one point, I think you told me it even was above the ratings of South Park. Is that true?
I might have said that, but I probably was lying. But I might have said it. I'm not saying it. You know, what happened was that South Park was declining, and we were moving up in the ratings. Yeah. And then South Park did that amazing Scientology episode, and I think that brought them back. That was a huge win for them, and then they went ahead of us. But
we were after them for season 1, and we were getting like 80 to 90% of their ratings, which is great. I mean, that's like all you could possibly ask for aside from being ahead of them. And then season 2, they delayed it so much. I think we weren't after new South Parks. So even though we were holding whatever the lead in, it went from like 2 million people to like 1 million or 800,000. So,
but remember, when we got canceled, the day we got canceled, we also got a newspaper article telling us that we were the #1 show on college campuses. We were beating football. We were crushing it on college campuses.
TiVo had just come along, and they hadn't taken into account how many people watched anything recorded. So there was this big New York Times article it was really about the Nielsen's, and how it wasn't about our show. It was about how the Nielsen's aren't accurately reflecting or understanding how viewership is anymore, because people don't watch things live. They record it. And they said if you go through college campuses where they had just started figuring out how to follow the ratings, the #1 rated show was Drawn Together, because that was the show every college kid who got a TiVo was like, record this, and they watched it whenever they wanted. So we sent that immediately because we were waiting for a pickup. The head of Comedy Central, and we never heard back. That was the last email to them, and then whatever email was the last one they sent to us.
So Drawn Together, some great things about the show. This is why I think Drawn Together is better than South Park, in my opinion, and I'm going to lose half my subscribers for saying that probably. But I think it's better because, number one, I love how Drawn Together has fluid art style. It's one of the greatest art styles I've ever seen in any cartoon, in my opinion. It looks so good, the way you blended all these different, character designs together. It's just amazing, like the animation style. And the second thing, the voice cast is also outstanding. You had Cree Summer, who's one of my favorites. You had Jess Honell. You had Tara Strong. She said Drawn Together was one of her favorite shows she's ever done. And this is the same person who's also done, popular shows like Fairly Odd Parents, Rugrats, My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. No, Drawn Together is her favorite show she's ever done.
It was definitely very different than her other shows. That's for sure. But also it was, I mean, I don't know, her experience on the other shows, but we had a lot of fun. And we brought Tara in when we did the pilot. We had written a version of the song Some Black Chick's Tongue. And she came in and she wrote an additional verse to the song. She just wrote it on her own just for fun. And it was so filthy, so dirty, so uncomfortable to listen to. I think she loved the freedom of doing an adult animated series after having done, mostly family shows for so long. And it was great to watch her, be a dirty teenager on our show for the first time.
A lot of voice actors like Tara and Cree and Jess are so incredibly talented, and they obviously have found great careers in kids animated or teen animated shows, and they get sort of pigeonholed and don't get to branch out beyond what they normally do. And we fortunately were doing a show where we wanted those kinds of voices, the voices of the superheroes, of the Rugrats, to be in the show. So it was like a perfect match made in heaven. And we said, we want you to add whatever you can add, do whatever you can do. And they finally got to have probably some of the fun you can't have when you do Rugrats.
And okay, so my question to you is, do you see yourselves ever making a kids animated show?
I think at this point, I would be happy to make a kids animated show. I don't know if I'd be any good at it. I don't know if anyone's looking for me to make a kids animated show, but I like paying my bills and paying my mortgage. And my daughter's having a bat mitzvah. Someone's got to pay for all the sweatshirts you apparently have to make kids. I don't know, Gabe. Do you go to
and the security and the a lot of security now at bat mitzvah.
A lot of security. Gabe, have you been to a bat mitzvah or bar mitzvah before?
No, I've not.
Since I was a kid, apparently they give away a lot of free stuff. Matt, have you been to one of these?
I haven't been in a long time. I have not been to.
You show up and there's like these cubbies of sweatpants and sweatshirts, and I was like, wait, we're giving people? Aren't we giving people a party and food? But no, you have to give them sweatshirts now.
Well, it's important. You want to make sure you feed and clothe the rich.
Yeah, the rich.
Yeah,
So that's a long-winded way of saying I'd be happy to. I don't think I would enjoy it as much as doing Drawn Together. But if you're offering me a job, Gabe, I'm in.
I wish. I'm not talented enough to create a show by myself, probably.
That's not true. I've seen your work. You're a very talented artist, Gabe.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Sure. So let me think of some of my favorite Drawn Together episodes. Some of the ones that come to my mind. Of course, there's the episode where they have the cereal mascots. That's a classic. And Super Nanny and the Hot Topic special.
Yes.
And there was the other two-parter, which was a cliffhanger. It was between the first and second season. I'm sure you remember that one.
Yeah, that was also part of the Hot Topic. I don't remember. I don't know how deep into like the commentary you go, Gabe, but that Hot Topic episode was 100% based on going into season 2. We were told the Drawn Together merch is coming out, and we were so excited. We were waiting for the phone call. When is it out? It's going to be in Hot Topic. We just couldn't wait for every little kid in the world to be wearing a Foxy Love t-shirt. And then we got the call, it's out today. It's at Hot Topic. So we literally stopped work. We all got out. We were not far from a mall. We walked to the mall. There's like 10 of us, marched into the Hot Topic. And, you look in the front window. All right, there's still South Park stuff there and some other stuff. No Drawn Together, but it's probably right behind the South Park stuff. We walked in. We didn't see any merch. We didn't see it on the shelves. So we walked up to the person working there. We're like, hey, we heard you got the Drawn Together merch. Can't wait. And they literally, I think, said, drawn to what now? Which was in the episode. And after talking to this young woman, she was like, I don't know. If you want to look in the office, we got some boxes of stuff that came in today. We haven't really. So all of us pile into this crappy Hot Topic office in the back of the mall when it had just opened on like a Wednesday. And in the box, on the top, I don't know what else was there, but we had to dig into the bottom. We found these 3 Ling t-shirts, and that was it. Yay! And I think that was as prominently displayed as any Drawn Together merch had ever been.
Yeah, and I think that was it. And I think that we probably bought the t-shirts, and I think that was it. I think that was all the shirts that were ever sold. 3 Ling shirts from a Hot Topic in Glendale.
Oh man, that's funny. So now let me tell you my favorite.
Yes.
Favorite Drawn Together
Let's hear
episode. Ready? So my favorite is the one with Clara's cousin Blair in season 1, because as you guys obviously know, I'm autistic, and what I love about that episode is you're not making fun of people with disabilities. Like for example, Captain Hero originally he was gonna egg her in one scene, and then he starts dating her and starts seeing the true sides of her, which is really amazing. I love that episode. It's super funny, especially the side plot with Ling Ling that was parodying the African toad.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that game. Yeah, she ultimately we wanted to make sure Blair had the win at the end. She's the one who turns down Captain Hero, and then gets on the bus with all of her friends. It's like, we love that episode. It was a sweet love story.
And you know who pitched that ending? I remember we were talking about the ending, and Elijah Aaron, very funny, very smart, very nice guy. He was like, I kind of feel like it's a little mean if she doesn't win at the end, because she had just been messed up. She had just been fucked with by Captain Hero and found out about this bet. And he's like, what if she had a bet on Captain Hero? And I remember like, oh yeah, that makes us less of an asshole.
Yeah, but I loved it. That's right. She had to bet on him, and then she won.
Yeah, you find out her and all of her friends bet that she couldn't get. That she called him a dry mouth, I think.
Yeah, dry mouth. It was a great episode, but I'm glad you liked it. That means a lot to us because it was meant to be sweet and fun.
It was meant to be sweet. It's also meant to be like what we liked about Drawn Together is the real conversations you have or we have become real conversations of these people, and those are real awkward conversations that you have. Like if you see someone who has Down syndrome and you're attracted to them, does that make you a terrible person? What can you do if they're, so I'm sure we've had those conversations before.
Right.
But so instead of us telling people we made Captain Hero have those conversations. And then as always is the case, Gabe, in every Drawn Together episode, love gets in the way.
Always.
Yeah, and Drawn Together, definitely, I'm going to be honest with you, it definitely seems like a show that I would hate because it's so, it gets so mean-spirited sometimes, but I think you guys, are really making fun of really the people who actually, believe in these stereotypes and stuff like that, instead of making fun of it yourself, if that makes any sense, kind of like Fuck does.
You know what? It's funny that you bring up the Man Show, because I think the Man Show and the Drawn Together, we both had that same mentality where, like on the Man Show, why it worked so well with Jimmy and Adam is that they were making fun of misogyny. They were the butt of the joke. That was like, it was showing how silly it was to be misogynistic. And I think once it got taken over by Joe Rogan and Doug Stanhope, I think they actually were two misogynistic guys doing really mean-spirited stuff, and it wasn't as funny. And on Drawn Together, we definitely think that kind of racism and that kind of hate speech is so absurd and so stupid that we actually found it funny because it's so wrong. It's so fucked up that we're making fun of the people who think like that, not celebrating it,
Exactly.
And the fact that I'm so appreciative that you see that and you get that, because I do think sometimes it's misunderstood. I do think sometimes people think, well, wait a minute, Matt and Dave are being like this, or the the voice actors are being like this. And no, that really wasn't our intent. Our intent was to show it and show how ridiculous that kind of hate
I think on
and
top of that,
intolerance is.
there's also a part of just being a little naughty, right?
Yeah,
Saying
sure.
we know that our parents or Mr. Heminger, Gary Heminger, would have gotten upset at if we said. And I think we all sort of relate to that. We all know there's a joke that pops into your head or a comment you want to make, and you only want to make it because that guy over there will be upset. And I don't know why that still stuck with us all. It's still now when Matt and I are working on something, there's a joke we want to make. And yes, we think it's funny, but it's extra funny because it's going to upset that guy. And usually it's only going to upset someone that we think is lame or can't take a joke. So we're not trying to upset, I think most of the our fans that are gay, I know our show does really well in Latin America. I know black dudes don't get, at least that I've talked to or been friends with, don't get upset. It's usually the white liberal Karen who gets upset for them. And I'm like, I know I'm going to upset her. I don't want to upset,
Anybody else. That's so true. Like, we love upsetting that person. The problem was with Comedy Central was we were upsetting them. We were upsetting our bosses. So eventually that's going to bite you in the ass.
And, when, I don't know if it wasn't a Scientology episode, but there was a South Park episode where the
Virgin Mary.
Oh, it was the Virgin Mary statue.
Oh, no, the Virgin Mary.
Virgin Mary statue started bleeding. She had her period and she bled all over the Pope's face. And that's only funny because there's a large percentage of people that are going to be upset by that. And that was when Viacom took over or bought Comedy Central. And someone on the Viacom board, probably a very wealthy Christian right person, saw that image and was like, what the hell is happening on this network we just bought? And that was right around the time that a lot of rules came down, and I think Drawn Together got canceled because once you upset the people who pay your bills, you might get canceled.
Yeah.
So, one other show I want to talk about before we head out. You also worked on Goolan, which is another very underrated show on Fox.
Yes, we loved Goolan. That was a great show. There's two versions, and we did these 15-minute versions that were on late night at Fox, and those did really well. Like, hey, let's develop it into a half-hour show, and then we had the half-hour show that I think we did 8 episodes, maybe 6 or 8 episodes for Fox. And yeah, Aubrey Plaza then came on board as the voice of the main character, and if you can find it, I think there are some really great episodes of that. I'm really proud of that show.
Yeah, that's one of the shows that would have gotten even better and better because we were figuring it out. It's about an adorable little dark girl who loved the macabre and the grotesque, and she accidentally summoned a god lord from another universe who really just wanted to be a pretty little girl and hang out with the nice girls. But she wanted to take over the city and use his powers to destroy all.
Yeah. So she wanted to be a monster, and the monster wanted to be a little girl. It was a great show.
Really the story of me and Matt.
Yeah. I want to be
don't give it away. Let the audience figure out which one's which.
I definitely preferred Mary Mack in the shorts over Aubrey Plaza, in my opinion, because the show took place in Minnesota, and I loved Mary Mack's very northern sounding accent, which she does in all of her stand-up.
Yeah, she's great. She's a real talent. That's one of those things that you find out in I don't know why Fox. Well, I do know why they want to have a name to be able to promote the show, and you have to play ball, otherwise they won't pick up the show. That was one of the conditions of picking up the show, is that we got some names involved on the show. I agree with you though. I think Mary was fantastic, and I think what was his name? Josh Miller. He did the voice. He's a writer. He was one of the writers on the show, and he was great as Goolan. But
he created Goolan. We came on board and were on this ADHD late night block, and we were given his sort of pitch packet or his pages. It was this character he created that would write letters to this small town Minnesota town council from Goolan the Insatiable, who was very upset about their codes and the violations that he had to fines for, and he knew the voice. He did the voice. This was his character. They picked up the show, and then he got recast. But which is too bad.
Yeah, I do think that the original version, if we had the original voices, it would have been even better for sure.
And of course, you were the voice of the dad, but your character got axed.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah, they had 3 conditions to pick up the 30-minute version. It was like, we need you to hire Aubrey Plaza, Rob Riggle, and kill off Matt's character.
And that
I'm pretty sure that there was only 2 conditions. And then our immediate boss, who ran the late night ADHD program, I think he said, "Hey, how about if we also kill off Matt? You being a primetime character voice."
I was gonna say there was that song that Matt told me this was a real song, and it blew my mind when I found out it was a real song. The one that was like, "Minnesota's the real California."
Yeah, there was I don't know what, we were in the room, we were looking up songs, and somehow on YouTube we found a local band in Minnesota that sang this song, "Minnesota is the new California," and it just, for whatever reason, it tickled us. And I was like, we got to use this song, so we put it in every single episode. Like that, actually, that's the only song that anybody knows or sings in the show. And it's a very real song. We found it and we licensed it from the guys. And I think we actually have them in the show, right? I think there's an episode of The Prom where we animate the guys who wrote the song. I'm not sure. I think I don't know if they thought we were making fun of them, which I guess we kind of were, but it's a damn catchy song.
Yeah.
So, all right. Another show you did on the same block, ADHD, was High School USA. Remember that show?
Yes, I remember that. We did that with a writer named Dino Stenapolopoulos.
Yeah, Emetopoulos, who did Moral and a bunch of other great shows. I mean, we really were writers in the room and helped out when we could. It was Dino's show, and he's too brilliant and too big of a genius to exist in this world.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun to work on, and I think that too, the more we could have made, the better it would have gotten, because he's brilliant and the show was fun. And Mandy Moore was in it before, like, This Is Us, so this was her bridge to her giant comeback.
Mandy Moore and my son Milo was in it.
And Milo.
Wow. Let me think. You also worked on Solo Opposites, which Mary Mack was also in.
Yes, it was great to be reunited with Mary Mack. She was fantastic on that show. Yeah, I think that show just wrapped up, right? We're all done, but it was that was a great series.
Yeah, that was even though the other shows you listed were fun, that and Axe Cop that we worked on were all fun. Solar Opposites was the first show in a long time.
I'll be right back. Hold on a second. I didn't get my dog. My dog's trying to get in.
All right. It was the first show, Gabe, in a long time where Mike McMahon, who created it, with Justin Roiland and Josh Bicel, who ran the room with Mike, they just wanted it to be funny. And whatever the funniest version was out of Mike's big, brilliant brain was what we did, which is unfortunate that it took so many years before we got back to just doing a show that was funny. But yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of comedies out right now, but luckily animation is still trying to be fun.
Mm-hmm. And another show you worked on, you're going to have to remind me the name of it. It was the show where, like, the Fox show where all the pets, Housebroken, yes.
We lost Dave. Oh, no.
I'm just plugging in my computer. Keep going.
You mentioned Housebroken and Dave leaves. That wasn't that bad, Dave. That was great. Lisa Kudrow was on there. Will Forte was great. We've worked with him a bunch. That was a really fun show. That was a blast. And then we had
don't forget, it was your big reunion with Nat Faxon.
And Nat Faxon was on there, who we love today. And then we had to leave that one to do the prank show that we did with Eric Andre and Jimmy Kimmel and Johnny Knoxville over at ABC that got sued off TV.
Wow! How did that happen?
All you have to do is, if you're bored, go ahead, just Google prank panel ABC lawsuit. There's a bunch of them. There's like 3 good lawsuits, and there's one big one still going on right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to take a look at that. And finally, you worked on the ABC series The Good Family, which was created by Mike Judge. And I have to bring that show up because, of course, he made the show and drawn together with the King of the Hill boredom helmet.
It's so funny you bring that up because, yeah, we did have the King of the Hill boredom helmet joke. And Dave and I were actually very worried that he was going to see it. We worked with was it Mike Judge who was we were worried he was going to see it, right? We had he had a partner at the time, this guy I forgot, John Eltruler, and he was working with Mike Judge, and John Eltruler wasn't aware that much of Drawn Together. He's like, I'm going to start watching it, and he started watching it, and every day he'd come into work and be like, oh my God, that was a great episode. I saw the episode where this happened and that happened. And we could tell he was getting closer and closer to the boredom helmet. We're like, oh no, he's going to watch. And then one day he stopped talking about the show. And I don't know if that's because he just had enough of it or because he saw the boredom helmet and turned it off and decided to never discuss the show with us again.
Wow, the King of the Hill boredom helmet. Oh, this is almost as boring as the show itself.
Because listen, I've seen King of the Hill. It's a great show.
Yeah, it's a great show. We have nothing against King of the Hill. We just thought it was a funny joke. It's also a little boring of a show.
Yeah, especially in the later episodes, but I think that happens to all shows. You know, they go through what's known as seasonal rot. They start going downhill. A lot of people say Drawn Together even went through seasonal rot in season 3, even though I don't think it's as bad as people say it is, because there's still some great episodes in the 3rd season. You got the cereal episode again, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
The episode with Captain Hill when he was talking to his past self with the nipple ring.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, nipple ring.
Yeah, there's lots of good. No, I agree with you. The 3rd season wasn't as strong as the second season. I think the second season was our best season. The third,
what we finally hooked up our Xboxes through the office and started playing a ton of
Halo.
Was that season? That was the first Halo, right?
Yeah. I honestly think Halo really impacted the quality of season 3, unfortunately.
Because every time we wrote one good joke, we're like, let's celebrate with a 6-hour game of Halo.
Okay, so I saved this for the end because I think you forgot to talk about it, but you shared with me this clip about how Drawn Together picked up. You want to talk about that clip?
Sure, I'll give you a little quick summary here. When Dave and I, we pitched the show to Comedy Central, they bought it. They asked us to do an animatic. We made that animatic presentation, which is online and you can see. And then we had to write the pilot script. And we went through all this development, tons and tons of development. We kept rewriting the pilot script over and over again, addressing all of Comedy Central's notes. And it just wasn't going anywhere. It felt like it was just dead. Like it was just, then suddenly it went quiet and we never heard from Comedy Central. And it was a bummer. We're like, all right, I guess this show's not going to happen. And then out of the blue, we got a phone call that said, hey guys, guess what? We're picking up the series. We're going to do 8 episodes. I was like, holy shit, what happened? Like, oh no, we really love the show. We always wanted to do it. We're like, oh wow, all right, great. And then we happened to be watching CNN, and CNN was doing a profile on Viacom, the company that owned Comedy Central. And the head of Viacom was a guy named Tom Freston. And they were doing a whole profile on Tom Freston. And you see him in his office, and they're going over a slate of possible shows. And one of the shows that comes up is Drawn Together, and you can see the presentation playing in the background of the interview. And you see Tom Freston go, an animated reality TV show. Yeah, okay. And that's it. And that's when it got picked up. So all the work we did, all the notes, all the scripts, it really got picked up again based on the single line that we pitched them in the beginning, which was an animated reality TV show. That's all they need. That's all he needed to hear. And that was it. But there were so many things we went through to get it picked up. But But yeah, but then we saw it on CNN, and I think we have a clip of it, Gabe. We actually can show it if you want to show it now.
This is a potential series that would.
Calculated risks are also encouraged.
This is the first animated reality show.
You worked on that pilot for Adult Swim that took place at the old folks' home. I can't remember the name of it.
The Coffin Dodgers.
Dodgers, yeah.
That's a show that keeps rearing its head every few years. Every now and then, people are like, "Hey, what about Coffin Dodgers? We should do that." The producer.
Said that to you, Gabe? Did you see the pilot?
Yes, I did. It's really good. I love that the animation, it resembles the drawn together animation style, and not only that, but they even reuse some of the stock sound effects from drawn together. I could notice that. I love that.
Yeah, it was all brought on from the episode where Toot has Alzheimer's, and she goes to the nursing home, and you find out that all old people are faking Alzheimer's just to get away from their kids and to get good drugs. And that was the episode that sort of inspired that pilot. So yeah, we did that for Comedy Central. I'm sorry, for Adult Swim. And it was actually looked like it was going along, and then we got sort of wrapped up in Golan, and we got wrapped up in Axe Cop, and that sort of took over. That may have been a bad call for us.
All right. And one last thing, the Drawn Together movie, of course, you got to bring it up. Yeah, the Drawn Together movie, not very good.
Really? We think it's amazing. I think it's the best movie ever made.
I would say, Gabe, just as a testament to you and you being a fan, this is the longest Matt and I have ever talked about our careers before someone started giving that look of like, I mean, look, it's 43 minutes of talking about our careers before that expression. So I appreciate your fandom, because no one else could talk this much about us without
bringing up that horrible movie. Listen, what happens is that there was a writer's strike. We were broke. They said, "Hey, will you write a movie?" We wrote a movie real quick. We did it. Do I regret it? 100% I regret it. I do think it still had some funny moments. It had some great bits. But it was not our best work, Gabe.
And you know what's exciting about that Drawn Together movie, or at least what we can learn from that, is that after a writer's strike, which we just had, when Matt and I are really broke and desperate, we usually do something terrible. And so we're in that period right now. So the next thing you see from us is going to be horrible. It's going to be the next Drawn Together feature, because we need money and we need to work so badly. And hopefully we'll get over that hump and do something great later on. So to you, Gabe, and all your fans, just look for
our next creative effort. It'll be terrible.
Our next creative effort will be terrible, but then it'll be great again.
Yeah, hopefully.
And I definitely agree. It does have some funny moments. Like, even though the animation is not as good as the show was done in Flash, like the pilot, there was some very, energetic expressions with Wodo. You probably remember that.
Sure.
And not only that, but there was a very funny moment where you had a commentary over the commentary, if you remember that.
Yeah, we did the commentary. Yeah, they stopped to do the commentary. They listened to the commentary about how to get out of the situation. No, there were some really funny ideas. There's also a really good, I saw this clip online. I totally forgot about it. The Jew producer is on top of this robot that we named Israel. And the conversation they have is very relevant to right now about how Israel is upset that everybody's picking on them, but sometimes they go a little overboard in the way they protect themselves. It's a great, I got to find the clip. It's the Jew producer. He's riding on top of them, and he's like very, very taken aback by how sensitive Israel is. And how, it's great. It's a great scene. But no, not a great movie. No need to watch it. If you're sitting at home and you're like, I want to see the Drawn Together movie. No, don't watch it. Watch something else.
Watch Andor.
Yeah, watch Andor. It's a great show.
Fun fact, the movie is what me got curious on the show, because I watched this review. This was back in 7th grade. Can you believe that? I got into the show in 7th grade.
Love that.
And the guy reviewed the movie, and he called it the worst animated just piece of animation he's ever seen. And I'm like, there's no way the show can be that bad. So I decided to look it up, and I got past the 2 episodes. I'm like, this is okay. And then I think it was the 3rd episode where it's like I couldn't stop watching. It's just so funny.
Well, I'm glad that our terrible movie introduced you to what I think is a great series. And you know, and I love this I love your YouTube channel. I love all the interviews you've been doing with you're getting incredible talent on your show. We're a step down from the other people you tend to interview on your show. It's very impressive, Gabe.
I would have to disagree because Dave Jeser and Matt Silverstein, in my opinion, they are some of the best producers in history.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Love you, Gabe. You're a
the
great
best,
guy.
Gabe. And hopefully, hopefully we'll have a new show on the air soon. We're working on a couple pilots for Netflix that I think are pretty damn funny. So hopefully we'll. And you know what? When if it does go to series, Gabe, we'll give you the exclusive interview.
Yes. And one other question, then we'll end it. Okay. Last question. So, the movie also had this kind of, it was making fun of South Park. That was one of the things that it was making fun of. So, is it true that Trey Parker and Matt Stone hated the show?
From what now, listen, I've never had a direct conversation with them about this show. But we did work with a producer who was dating Trey at the time. And this producer told us that, yes, he did hate the show very much so. In fact, apparently one of the conditions of him continuing on South Park was that Comedy Central get rid of Drawn Together. We then asked, we asked Comedy Central about this, and they deny it. But also, this producer also tended to be a big liar, so I don't know if there's any truth.
Even if the truth, it doesn't sound like he never watched the show. I think he just didn't like the existence of a show in his world, following him, supposedly even though that's how TV works, right? You put a show on and you build an audience to that show, and then other shows can build off of it. But I think the idea that there was another sort of outrageous animated comedy on after his outrageous animated comedy was offensive. So I think
he didn't like he attacked Family Guy also. I don't think they like people being. I don't think they like other people doing funny cartoons, I guess. Which is fine.
I think he probably hates, and this is again not knowing him either. I think he hates that we consider our show and his show and Family Guy all similar, and that's what he hates about Family Guy too. And people saying, "Oh, you and Family Guy," when he thinks his show is over here and Family Guy is a completely different product.
Now, in his defense, his show, South Park's amazing. I mean, listen, it's a great show. Yeah. And the movie, I think the South Park movie is one of the greatest movies. It's much better than the Drawn Together movie. So, so I mean, he may have a point.
Yeah. And what's amazing, you guys kind of have a close relationship with Seth MacFarlane. You worked in the Cleveland show, and Seth MacFarlane was even in the Drawn Together movie. He voiced Israel, as you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. He's a great guy. Very he was way nicer to us than Trey.
And there was that funny scene after Family Guy came back from the dead where Peter was listing like all of the canceled Fox shows, and half of them you worked on, like Andy Whitfield controls the universe.
I like that you enjoy our successes as much as our failures. You're very much one of us, Gabe.
Yeah, but anyway, all right, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I know you guys got stuff to do. Thank you so much for joining me today. You guys are awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing more of your work in the future.
Same with us, Gabe. Thank you. Now we'll keep watching your channel. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great work, Gabe.
All right, you guys have a good day.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.